He believed honesty could be measured, that morality bent under pressure, that money revealed the truth of people faster than any speech or promise. When an American billionaire arrived quietly in the Philippines with a wallet full of cash and assumptions, he thought he was conducting a harmless test. What unfolded instead unsettled him far more than failure ever could. His name was Richard Hale, a technology magnate from Silicon Valley, known for hostile takeovers and blunt opinions. In interviews, he often spoke about human nature, as if it were a spreadsheet. Countries, he believed, reflected their values through small actions, and in private conversations, he questioned whether integrity survived in places shaped by poverty. Richard did not come to the Philippines for charity or tourism. He was scouting potential sites for a massive logistics hub in Southeast Asia. Manila was efficient but crowded. Cebu felt polished. Yet he chose to spend several days in smaller cities, observing daily life, believing that character revealed itself away from boardrooms. To his aides, Richard proposed an experiment. Simple, anonymous, no cameras, no announcements. A leather wallet, intentionally worn, filled with cash, credit cards, and identification bearing his real name. He would lose it in public places and track what happened next. To him, the outcome would confirm what he already suspected. The wallet contained the equivalent of 3 months' salary for an average worker. Crisp bills, a black and gold business card, an American passport photocopy. Richard considered it insignificant compared to his net worth, but meaningful enough to tempt someone struggling. If honesty existed, he reasoned, it would surface even then. On a humid afternoon, Richard walked through a public market in Quezon Province, not far from capital. Vendors shouted prices. Motorbikes squeezed through narrow lanes. He slowed near a vegetable stall, brushed his jacket, and let the wallet slide onto the concrete floor, unnoticed. Then he walked away without looking back. Within minutes, a woman selling leafy greens noticed it. She hesitated, scanning faces, unsure if it belonged to someone nearby. She picked it up, opened it briefly, and froze at the sight of cash. Around her, life continued. No one else paid attention. She called out softly, asking if anyone had lost something. No answer came. The woman, named Lorna, wiped her hands on her apron and closed the wallet carefully. She did not remove anything. She asked the neighboring vendors if they recognized the name inside. Some shrugged. Others advised her to keep it. Blessing, one man muttered. Lorna shook her head and folded the wallet into a plastic bag. Richard observed from across the street, pretending to examine fruit. He watched Lorna's indecision. He expected delay, perhaps negotiation with conscience. Instead, he saw urgency, not greed. Lorna packed her stall early, losing sales, and walked toward the barangay hall, the local administrative office, holding the wallet close. Inside the barangay hall, electric fans rattled against the heat. Lorna explained the situation to an officer, apologizing repeatedly as if she had done something wrong. The officer logged the wallet, made copies of the identification, and assured her they would attempt to contact the owner. Lorna left quietly, refusing a small reward offered from petty cash. That evening, Richard's assistant received a call from a local official. The wallet had been found. Identification confirmed. Richard felt a flicker of satisfaction. One honest vendor did not disprove his theory. Outliers existed everywhere. He decided to repeat the experiment again. One instance was anecdote. Patterns mattered. The next morning, Richard visited a provincial bus terminal. Travelers slept on benches. Drivers shouted destinations. He stood near a ticket counter and accidentally left the wallet on a seat. This time, he walked farther away, convinced the chaos would swallow it. He waited inside a cafe, watching reflections through glass. A young man in a worn uniform spotted the wallet while cleaning the area. He picked it up immediately and ran after a couple boarding a bus, thinking it belonged to them. When they shook their heads, he opened the wallet, saw the forename, and frowned. He reported it to his supervisor without hesitation. The supervisor instructed him to turn it over to terminal security. Other workers gathered around, curious. Some joked about the amount inside, but none suggested taking it. The wallet was logged, photographed, and secured. The young man returned to sweeping floors, visibly relieved, as if unburdened by a responsibility he never wanted. By the third attempt, Richard felt irritated. His assumptions were unraveling too easily. He chose a more private setting, a narrow coastal road in a fishing town where income was unpredictable and opportunity scarce. He dropped the wallet near a tricycle stand and drove away, certain this time the result would be different. An elderly tricycle driver noticed the wallet moments later. He opened it slowly, adjusting his glasses. The cash inside made his shoulders sag. Nearby, his vehicle waited for passengers. Instead of pocketing the wallet, he sat down on the curb, thinking. Then he asked a teenager to help him read the foreign name. The driver, Ernesto, explained that foreigners rarely returned once something was lost. Still, he believed keeping it would bring misfortune. He drove to the nearest police outpost, burning fuel he could barely afford. When officers asked why he didn't keep it, Ernesto answered simply that the money was never his to begin with. 3 wallets, 3 returns. No negotiation, no spectacle, no reward demanded. Richard sat alone in his hotel room that night, unsettled. His experiment had been designed to expose weakness. Instead, it revealed something he could not quantify. These were not isolated acts performed for praise. No one knew they were being tested. Richard reviewed reports from his assistants, looking for flaws. Maybe the amounts were too small. Maybe his presence influenced behavior. But surveillance showed he was never recognized. The people involved had no expectation of benefit. They lost time, income, even convenience, simply to return what was not theirs. The moral contrast became uncomfortable. Richard had built his empire by exploiting loopholes, minimizing liability, pushing ethical boundaries without technically breaking laws. He had always defended this as realism. Yet here, among people with far less, he witnessed restraint without calculation, honesty without leverage. He requested to meet Lorna, the market vendor. She was hesitant, uncomfortable speaking to a wealthy foreigner. When he thanked her and offered a cash reward, she declined again. She said returning the wallet was normal. Keeping it would have kept her awake at night. Richard had no response prepared for that. With Ernesto, the tricycle driver, Richard tried a different approach. He asked what he would have done if no police station existed. Ernesto laughed softly and said he would have waited for the owner or asked around. If nobody came, he added, then maybe God would decide, not me. These conversations lingered. Richard realized his experiment had tested something else entirely. It had tested his worldview. He had assumed hardship justified compromise, that integrity required comfort. The Filipinos he met demonstrated the opposite. Their morality was not naive. It was deliberate, shaped by community and consequence. When final site recommendations were due, Richard surprised his board. He chose the Philippines, not because of tax incentives or labor costs, but because of trust. He cited operational risk mitigation through community reliability, framing morality as stability. The language was corporate, but the decision was personal. Privately, Richard funded scholarship programs in the towns he visited, without attaching his name publicly. He insisted local leaders manage them. His assistants noticed a change. He questioned decisions more carefully. He spoke less about human nature as a flaw and more as a responsibility shaped by environment. The wallet experiment was never published. Richard did not want headlines. He understood that turning honesty into spectacle would cheapen it. The lesson mattered because it had not been performed. It existed quietly, in ordinary people choosing restraint when no one demanded it. In boardrooms back home, Richard still negotiated fiercely, but there were lines he no longer crossed. When advisors questioned his caution, he recalled Lorna closing the wallet without counting the money, Ernesto burning fuel to return something he did not own. The memories restrained him more effectively than regulation. The Philippines did not pass a test that day. It reversed one. The experimenter became the subject. The wealthy observer confronted a truth he had avoided. That dignity does not scale with income, and morality cannot be audited through assumptions alone. In places often reduced to statistics and stereotypes, Richard encountered quiet defiance against cynicism. No speeches, no banners, Just ordinary people refusing to take what wasn't theirs. The outcome did not flatter his beliefs. It dismantled them. The wallet returned home each time, untouched. What never returned was Richard Hale's certainty that wealth revealed character. In the Philippines, he learned something devastatingly simple. Honesty did not need to be tested. It was already there, waiting long before he arrived.